Hello, YouTube. Welcome to my channel, Marriage, Politics, and Sports. I have a short one here with Stephen Miller, and just wanted to go live, have some commentary to what these guys are talking about with the tragic assassination attempt or killing or shooting of these National Guardsmen. One lady passed away, the other guy's still in critical condition. Like, share, subscribe to the channel for more of this content. I'm just reacting to Stephen Miller, um, and his commentary on what's going down. So, just more of these things. It's a Saturday. Hopefully, everybody had a great Thanksgiving, but Thanksgiving came hard to two families and a lot of servicemen because of the rhetoric and the climate that the liberals have put the country in because they want to defy the president and and ignore the fact that more than half of the country voted for closed borders, eliminating crime, and deporting people who shouldn't be here, and that kind of stuff. All stuff that's on the books, all stuff that is part of our Constitution and laws. And there's people in open rebellion against that, and they are violent. And so here we go. So anyway, without further ado, let's hear what Stephen Miller has to say on this particular subject, and we'll go from there. It's only like a 4-minute clip, so we won't be here long. And just hit the like button on the way in, just to say you were here, and I appreciate that, and all that kind of good stuff. You could put some comments in the chat or on the replay. Okay. So what does Stephen Miller say about this situation?
Do you think, given the reduction in robberies and murders and crime in the district, how much safer and more beautiful it is now because of the Guardsmen and what happened tonight, do you think some of these mayors and governors are going to be able to resist legally and frankly morally guardsmen coming to their cities to help do the same thing?
Well, look at the situation in Chicago, where the governor, Pritzker, is fighting President Trump with everything that Pritzker has to try to keep President Trump from ending the murder epidemic in Chicago. Pritzker and Johnson are fighting on behalf of the murderers, not on behalf of the citizens, fighting against the National Guard, fighting against law enforcement, fighting against federal investigators at every step of the way. Let me begin by saying to the beginning of your question.
Well, let's just stay there with Pritzker and Johnson. I believe that Pritzker and Johnson are in open rebellion against the federal government and the federal laws. Maybe they're not breaking it, but their rhetoric is certainly seditious. And I think we should really kind of look at, and I did a few videos back on both Johnson and Pritzker about their rhetoric is seditious. If you just read what the definition of sedition is. And their rhetoric has also turned people violent against ICE, conducting lawful raids to get illegal aliens out of the country. The big mistake that the Republicans made is it doesn't matter whether you are a hardened criminal or not. If you are here out of compliance with federal immigration laws, you are subject to deportation, period. And the bigger the criminal you are, of course, the urgency should be there, but that doesn't absolve people who are here overstaying a visa, got in as part of DACA that has been unresolved. And the Democrats should be blamed for that because Biden didn't do anything to solve DACA. Neither did Barack Obama. They had the opportunity to codify that, and they didn't do it. So those DACA people are butt naked to the world. That's not Trump's fault. He's just saying, hey, listen, you know what? Those agreements have lapsed. And, so they put those people in limbo, and yeah, they should get due process. I could agree with that. But, hey, what can you say? The Democrats let you down. Y'all should have been screaming to the high heavens to codify this shit when they were in power. So anyway, so let them finish.
That the president's remarks, I think, were among the most moving that I've ever heard. It was perfect for this incredibly tragic occasion, this heartbreaking, anguishing tragedy right before Thanksgiving. I think she spoke movingly and beautifully to what we've lost, but also demonstrated the tremendous resolve and determination to not only continue the mission these soldiers died for, but to expand the mission, declaring that far from being deterred, the commander-in-chief, our president, is sending 500 more troops to the city to show that no terrorism will sway us. And also having a conversation tonight with America, the conversation that we have to have with President Trump saying that Joe Biden, the Biden administration, the Democrats have inflicted on this nation the worst national security threat in our history. We've never faced a threat like this. 20 million people brought into our country from the most failed societies on earth. Afghanistan, Somalia, Libya, Iraq, brought here. No vetting, no conditions, no rules.
All right. Okay. So I have to stop it here. Okay. What were the Republicans doing when Biden was doing all of this? What happened to the Republicans getting a judge to put an injunction on flooding the gates or allowing these people in or flying planes in or giving temporary protection status from people from the worst parts of the world, right? So for every little thing now, the Democrats get some judge with a liberal cloak on to put an injunction or to stop Trump from putting in lawful orders until they have to take it up to the Supreme Court. Where were the Republicans when all of this shit was happening during the Biden administration? Where were you? What were y'all doing? How come there's no Republican went to a Republican cloaked judge and say, we need an injunction on this airplane bullshit so we could make Biden have to justify it in front of the courts? How come you guys didn't do that? You know, how did you let these guys flood the gates? Matter of fact, I got another one for the Republicans. You know, how the fuck can anybody declare their state a sanctuary state or a sanctuary city without that having to go through some judicial process to say that that's not unconstitutional? What happened to the judge saying, no, you can't declare yourself sanctuary for illegal aliens or any aliens for that matter without having that adjudicated through the judicial branch? Where were the Republicans when that shit was happening? And so now we have multiple states in open rebellion against the federal government because we got a Republican president and who just happens to be named Donald Trump. You guys dropped the goddamn ball. You dropped the ball. The Democrats are showing you how it's done. They're pulling out their knives and they're doing the things, backstabbing and everything to try to stop Trump from putting his orders through by using the courts. How come you guys didn't do that? How come the Republicans did not use the courts like the damn Democrats are doing right now? How come? And so now here you crying about this guy being able to bring in 20 million. Who cares if it's 20 million, 15 million, 10 million? All of it was too much to be absorbed. And these are from countries who don't want to become Americans. They just want to use what we have to offer. The Somalis are a great example of that, with all the fraud and all that shit going on and how they're taking over the country. The city and the counties up there in Minneapolis, where they got the mayor kowtowing in Somali, right? Or the police chief apologizing for people stealing billions of dollars. How does that happen in America? And the Republicans sit back fat, dumb, and happy. Now you're complaining. So Stephen Miller, yeah, you might have a point now, but where were you guys in the 4 years that Biden was doing all the bullshit he was doing? You know, so you got to take some heat for this. You got to. There's just no way around it. You know, so stop whining.
Here on visas, brought here as refugees, brought here as asylees, brought here as illegals, brought here in every way imaginable, by plane, train, bus, automobile, by land, by sea. For 4 straight years, They deluged this country. And now more blood is being spilled as a result. What you heard tonight from President Trump, the breaking news here tonight, is saying that his government is going to accelerate efforts to review every person added to this country over the last 20 years, or the last 4 years, all 20 million. Now, obviously, if you're illegal, you're out automatically. But everybody else who is brought here, refugee, asylum status, whatever status, as he said, if you're not someone who loves this country, if you're not adding benefit to this country, then we're going to send you out of this country because it's enough already. No one else has.
I agree with that part. You know, I think that whoever is allowed to actually even legally immigrate to our country, the first question is, what benefit do they have to the United States? We shouldn't be trying to save the world, man. Hell with that shit, man. And, you know, and listen, don't come at me because you're black. You should understand that. Hell with that shit, man. Every goddamn group has been standing on the black people here in this country, and every one of those groups can't stand the fucking ground we walk on. And no, it doesn't matter what color their skin is either. Africans hate African Americans. You know, they might not say it, you know, one-to-one, but as a group, they don't want to have anything to do with us, except where it's an advantage of them being able to claim, you know, whatever hardship because they're black. Those Somalis have no use for black Americans, and there's video to prove that, right? So the point really is that we should stop trying to champion everybody, the gays, the fucking alphabet mafia, you know, white women, every oppressed group somehow, you know, transgenders. We're supposed to somehow understand their plight when none of them give a shit about us. You know, even the Chinese being able to claim birthright citizenship, that was on the back of the 14th Amendment when it was written expressly for black people. So let's just stop the bullshit, man. We should be where we can't even stand each other. We need to fix our own home before we start championing causes for everybody else. So illegal, if you're here illegal, black people are the last people who should be sitting up here champion for illegals in this country. Guess whose jobs they're taking? Guess whose area where they're being force-fed into your areas and using your taxpayers' dollars to have a better life than you do. And they haven't bled one iota of blood for this country, not one. So let's stop the bullshit. So we should be on the right side of this. America should be for Americans first. And if you're an immigrant here, you should pledge allegiance to the United States of America.
Has to die. No one else has to be murdered. No one else has to be shot. No more empty seats are needed at the Thanksgiving table or the Christmas table because of what Democrats have done to this country. So tonight we heard from a commander-in-chief a historic announcement, a brave announcement, exactly what America needed to hear, Kellyanne.
Absolutely. Stephen Miller, and you've amplified it so beautifully tonight. First, they delegitimize the National Guard, and then they dehumanize the guardsmen and guardswomen. And it should surprise no one, yet shock us and sadden us all the same what happened today. Stephen, that's also a president I know influenced by you and others as well, who is helping to lead the nation in prayer. And he's praying for those victims. He's praying for their families. He's praying for the other brave men and women in all types of uniform who wake up every morning and run toward the danger to protect our freedoms and our lives. Stephen Miller, thank you very much. God bless Katie and you and the family for Thanksgiving. Appreciate it.
Thank
Stephen
you.
Miller, White House Deputy Chief of
President
Staff.
Trump. God bless America.
Yes, from the White House lawn tonight.
Hey, Sean Hannity here.
All right, so let me just go ahead and land that there. You know, of course, you know, I'm speaking in absolutes, but nothing's absolutes. You know, we have some people just backtrack a little bit of these other so-called impressed groups that might be friendly, but when it comes time for them choosing sides, it actually is every man and woman for themselves, rallying their troops for each other. You know, so the Ethiopians or the Somalians, and it's not just their group, right? The Chinese have Chinatown, Russia have Russiatown, Italians have Little Italy, you know. So all these groups actually look bifurcated. They have the Jews for Israel. They all have broken allegiance, right? None of them are 100% aligned to American way of life if they're still championing their own old country. And then as they get into office, guess what? A lot of their allegiance to their old country impacts what kind of votes they do in America. Ilhan Omar is I guess the most shining example for that. But so are a whole bunch of American Jews for Israel. They have broken allegiance, not just to our country, but they have a lot of their allegiances mostly to their old country. So we as Americans, we got to be more careful as to who we choose as our leaders across the human diaspora, right? Because if they can't really say they're America first, then why are we putting them in office? Why are we voting for these people? And so it's really important to say, hey, listen, we got to have some national pride, whatever that might be. Even if it's a melting pot as opposed to the salad bowl that we've become. So we should want our borders to be sovereign, and we should want our leaders to have allegiance to America before any other country. And I don't think that that's true anymore. Or if it ever was true, it was more true when we had less different kind of people in office. But now, with this unfettered, unassimilated people who are migrating to our country, the weakness is growing. And we're going to be destroyed from within as opposed to from without, because they're going to start changing laws to make our military weaker. And the Chinese have no such problem. The Russians have no such problem. The North Koreans have no such problem. Our enemies don't have this bullshit problem that we have, right? Because along with our freedoms, there's a lot of room for fuckery. Anyway, so I just wanted to say this piece because now that they're starting to shoot at our military people, and this is just the beginning, folks. I don't know if these are isolated incidences, but anyway, until next time, we're going into the holiday season. I would rather it be pleasant, but a whole bunch of good stuff to say. But God bless to those families of the victims, and God bless the United States of America.